Hello everybody, welcome to Also Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 200k on this, no, that's the main channel. I'm trying to hit 100k on this channel by the end of the year, so if you could subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Also, I have to give a shout out to my friend Asher, who has a YouTube channel that will be linked in the description. He has been doing a Bulls My League series, and I specifically told him if you choose the Bulls, because I wanted to see that, then I'll shout you out. So that's what that is. So go check out his Bulls My League series. But yeah, that's it. I also have to mention I still have ear infection. It's better now than it was yesterday, but my head feels like a drum that like the sounds that I'm making is like bouncing around in it. So it's a little uncomfortable to talk. I'm going to power through it regardless. So, Game 4 just went down, and luckily the Bucks won. Now, I'm going to mention two things that happened later in this game, just so that I don't forget them, because they were pretty important. Devin Booker had foul trouble throughout this entire game, and he should have been out of the game. I believe it was around the 3-minute mark, because he fouled the shit out of it. It was either, I'm pretty sure it was Chris Middleton. He fouled the shit out of Chris Middleton on a fast break. It might have been Drew Holiday. I can't remember. It was one of those two. Fouled the shit out of him when he had 5 fouls. Like, tackled him, fouled him. Like, wrapped his arm around him. Definitely 100%. That's borderline a flagrant foul. And it wasn't called. So, that's something that has to be mentioned. If the Bucks would have ended up losing this game, especially because of Devin Booker, then I would have been coming to this post-game recap furious. Not because they lost, but the fact that Devin Booker should not have been on the floor, and especially in a game where Devin Booker is going off as much as he did. He had 40 points in this one. Him playing could have been disastrous for the league, because absolutely he should not have been in the game. A lot of people were screaming rigged because of this. I don't think the league really cares that strongly one way or the other who actually wins the championship with this matchup, so I wouldn't call it rigged. I think it was just fucking stupid. If anything, I think the NBA wants a 7-game series, because I don't see any reason why they'd want the Suns to win more than the Bucks or vice versa. What I will say, though, is, and Funky tweeted this, Funky Diabetic, he said, Suns fans can't complain about the officiating anymore after that one, and that's 100% true. I think this series in general has been pretty evenly not greatly officiated. I'd say the fouls have been, like, it's not a high frequency of bad calls, but it's the ones that are bad are, like, egregious, and like this play that happened today. So it makes it seem worse than it actually is. Overall, I think the officiating has just been kind of bad. I don't think it's been terrible, but overall it's not been good, and I don't think it's been strongly in one team's favor or another. Today, though, not calling that on Book, very, very fucking, not even questionable. It was just downright bad. It was just a terrible no call. Other thing I have to mention is, speaking of fouling, Giannis on 2 different possessions in the last like more like 2 minutes of this game, almost screwed his team over, and very easily could have screwed his team over. And I'm glad the Bucks won, because if they didn't, we'd be looking at these 2 possessions a little bit more critically. What I'm referring to is there were 2 different times where he got fouled in the act of shooting, but he passed the ball like right before the whistle went off, so it wasn't ruled as the act of shooting. Like, he was clearly setting up for a layup both times. One of them, he was pretty far away from the basket, but he was definitely going into a shot, and then he just decided last second to pass out of it, when he clearly felt the contact and he should have just put the shot up. Now, I feel like it's a bit of a gray area to be like, clearly he was going for a shot and then he felt the contact and passed out of it. So, like, it is kind of in the act of shooting. He's just responding to the foul by trying not to turn it over. I feel like in his case, it was like a nervousness of worrying about fucking up late in the game, and like everyone being like, Giannis fucked this up. So instead of hoping you get the call, he was like, I'd rather just make a pass to make sure that the possession isn't dead with me just missing this shot that I was fouled on. So I understand why he did it, but it was very concerning, and I'm glad it ended up not being detrimental to the team. Now, the reason it wasn't detrimental is that Chris Middleton came up clutch as as fuck in this one. Now, people had been saying for the last couple of games, we're waiting on the really good Chris Middleton game. We got that today. He had 40 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. You know, his efficiency wasn't the greatest in the world, but especially, like, it was early on, he wasn't making shots, like early in the first quarter. And I'll say in general, the Bucks looked pretty rough in the first quarter, especially early on in the first quarter, where they weren't making shots, and it felt like they were falling back into the old bad habits of the first 2 games. Game 3 was very clearly they knew what they were doing, and they executed it perfectly, and the first 2, not so much the case. And it really felt like we got a mix of that today in general, but it was especially bad in the first quarter. He started to heat up a little bit more later in the first, and especially in the second, and then he was cold again to start the third quarter, missed like 4 consecutive mid-range pull-ups, all of which were good looks. But then continued to catch fire. So he got really hot and cold as the game progressed, and I think I've talked about that before with the inconsistency of Chris Middleton. But people have been saying we're waiting for the good Middleton game. We got it today, and he was especially good in the fourth quarter. He hit 2 really, really, really critical mid-range shots. One that was like he caught it and went into a fadeaway. I don't know if it was off of an inbound or not, but it was something like that. And then he also did one that was like off of the screen, pull up over 8 and around the free throw line. So very, very good game from him. There is a fucking... What the fuck is that? Something's flying in my room. I don't know if I got it. It's not on my hand, so I don't think I did. That would have been very weird. I'm actually glad I didn't hit that because that would have been gross. Let me see. Jrue Holiday fucking sucked. That's worth mentioning. He went a solid 4 for 20. Nice. Not nice because it's the weed number, not nice because it was actually nice. And Giannis, I would say, had pretty much a standard game, which says a lot for him that 26, 14, 8 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks on 58% from the field is a standard game, but pretty much what it was. Brook Lopez continuing to see his minutes dip as the series progresses. Even though he hasn't been terrible in the minutes he's gotten, he only played 19 today. Pat Connaughton played a lot today, and he was really critical. There were a couple of shots where I was like, I don't know that I want Pat Connaughton to be the guy taking the shot right now, but then he also made a couple of those shots, so can't be too mad. Bobby Portis didn't make a fucking shot today, but he was really good energy-wise. Jeff Teague played 11 minutes. Not okay with that. And then PJ Tucker was fouling jump shooters like fucking crazy. I think he had 3 fouls on jump shooters. Luckily, that didn't end up costing them the game. But that is... Oh, I also have to mention Giannis' defense in the fourth quarter. Lob to Ayton that he blocked, and then he stole it from Chris Paul late in the game. But like within like a 30 to 40 second span, those 2 plays happened. And just Giannis, so many people call him an overrated defender, and I don't understand how people say that. I think it's just because sometimes he's not put on the one-on-one matchup, but I think fans are too... I don't think fans just appreciate off-ball defense as much as they should, because they're not really... Like, they're paying attention to the basketball, which is understandable. That's what I do most of the time, unless I'm outright, like, trying to study a specific characteristic of a player's defense or offense. Like, hey, I want to see what Steph is doing off-ball more than watching Andrew Wiggins dribble, or I want to see that Jaylen Brown is actually not very good defensively off-ball. Things like that. But generally speaking, fans are just watching the ball, so they don't see, other than when Giannis gets a highlight play, they don't see him, being ready to come bring help and intimidate a player into a mid-range shot rather than a layup and things like that. But incredible block on Ayton, incredible steal on Chris Paul. So just 2 back-to-back really big defensive plays, and deserves all the credit in the world for that. His actual scoring was pretty fine in this game. I mean, he only shot the ball 19 times. Both Jrue and Middleton shot the ball more. I feel like they should have looked for him a little bit early, especially in the first quarter. They didn't really look for him at all. But ultimately, still a very good game, and a very good passing game from him as well, as you can tell by the 8 assists. On the Suns side of things, Jay Crowder once again had a pretty good game, though he started shooting so well that he took a couple of not great threes, which kind of happens with him sometimes. Devin Booker could not miss. A whole lot of pull-up mid-range shots, some floaters. He had a left-handed layup over Brook Lopez where he was like right there. It was a lot of shots where the defender was like right there. It just didn't end up mattering. A couple of fadeaways out of the post, things like that. No three-pointers for him. So that's cool to see someone score 40 without a three-pointer, a guard score 40 without a three-pointer in today's NBA. And being that Booker had 40 and Middleton had 40, we had two 40-point performances in this one, which is really cool. What's not really cool is that Chris Paul sucked today. I mean, his playmaking was fine. His defense was fine. But 5 for 13, not good. Big turnover late, not good. Actually, a lot of turnovers in this game. There was one where DeAndre Ayton was coming down the lane and he just completely whiffed the pass. Not the best communication on that play, though. But just in general, Chris Paul, not a very good game. DeAndre Ayton really wasn't doing much in the paint in this one. He got a lot of rebounds, but scoring-wise, there was not much. Cam Johnson was a really good spark off of the bench, and he's been really consistent in the finals thus far. This game he had 10 points, 4 for 6 from the field, 2 for 4 from outside. Hit a really big mid-range shot late as Booker was getting into foul trouble, and he sat on the bench as a result of it. Should have been on the bench at the end of the fucking game to begin with, but that's, didn't end up mattering. Other than that, that is pretty much it on the Sun side of things. This was the best game of the series by far. I was like, I feel like we're due for a close game because it's not like you look at the box score, the first 3 games or really the first 3 was kind of just a blowout after like the third quarter, after the run that they attempted to do ended up getting cut off, but by the Jrue Holiday 3-pointers. But like the first 2 games were close to a point. And even when they weren't, even when it was like a 10 to 15 point deficit, it still felt like something could happen to make the difference, but like it still wasn't ended up being close towards the end. Like you had a pretty good idea of what team was going to win in the first 3 games of the series by like midway through the third quarter, and that's not the most fun. You want it to be tense the whole way through. Now I'm so invested in the Bucks at this point that I was really nervous. I didn't think the Bucks were going to win this one. I'll be honest, like especially early in the fourth quarter, the Suns got to like a 7-point lead, and I was just like, dude, I don't trust the Bucks to deal with this kind of pressure and come out on top. But luckily, they proved me wrong. So this is the best game of the series thus far. I hope we get more of it. I'm glad the series is tied 2-2 because it was looking like after the first 2 games that this series might actually be over a little sooner than we wanted it to. So I'm very glad that did not end up being the case. So yeah, very good game. Look forward to Game 5. That is it as far as I'm aware. Mike Budenholzer coached a good game again. I mean, I'll say he coached a good game anytime that he plays Brook Lopez, not that much. And I'll say he coached a fantastic game as soon as he never plays Jeff Teague. But yeah, that is it. Again, go check out Asher's Bulls My NBA series over on his channel. Link will be in the description. Go check out my 2 Faces of Greg Popovich video trailer that I'm putting out on my main channel at the end of the finals. So yeah, that's the outro. Goodbye.